Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're okay. Had a good week and all of that. Looking forward to something maybe in the holidays. You've got something nice to look forward to. Hopefully we'll get some sunshine. Anyway, I hope you're all well. And yeah, today we're going to be looking at still in chapter Acts, still in chapter 8, and it's a story about a man called Philip, who we did hear about last week a bit. And this time he's meeting an Ethiopian man. So Ethiopia is a place, it's a country in Africa, so it's quite far away from here, and that's where the man was in the story, where he's from, in the story that Philip meets, but we don't know what his name was. Anyway, I'm going to tell you the story. So Philip, he was preaching, telling everybody all about Jesus in this place called Samaria, when suddenly an angel appeared to him and said, Philip, I want you to go down this road over there that leads to Gaza. And Philip didn't say why. He didn't ask, what am I going to do there? He just said, okay. So he left Samaria and he set off the city and he set off on this road. And as he's going down the road, he sees in the distance a chariot, like with horses. And it's like got horses and they're pulling the car. And inside the car is a very, very important man from Ethiopia. And he sees it and then he hears this God's Spirit tells him, you need to go alongside it, go and catch up, because there's someone in there, and go and catch up and see what happens. So he's like, okay. So he runs along and he catches up with the chariot, and then he hears the man inside it is reading part of the Old Testament from Isaiah. So he's reading out of the Bible, and he listens in and he hears this man reading, and then he asks him, he says, excuse me, do you understand what you're reading? And the Ethiopian man says, no. I mean, how will I unless someone explains it to me? So he says, I know. And so they stop the chariot and he gets in and he explains to the man who was reading what the passage was that he meant. And what it meant. And he was telling him that actually there was going to be somebody who was going to die for everyone's sins. And that person was Jesus, and he was going to be the saviour of the world. And the Ethiopian man is like, this is amazing, great news. And Philip says, yeah, and it's news for you as well. And you can know who Jesus is and you can have him in your life. And the Ethiopian man is like, what? Well, what is to stop me getting baptized then? And Philip's like, great point. Nothing's to stop you getting baptized. So they stop, and just where they stop, there's some water. They get out. Philip baptizes the Ethiopian man, and just as he comes out of the water, like that, Philip just vanishes off to another city somewhere else. And the Ethiopian is like, oh, okay. And he just goes on his way, rejoicing that he knows who Jesus is and he has this relationship now with God. And it's absolutely amazing and also a bit crazy, because it meant that this man, well, some people think that he went back to his country and then he told loads of people about Jesus, which is probably true. Okay, so that's our story. So we have Philip, who listens to what an angel says, and even though he's not really sure what's going to happen, he does what he's told, and he goes on the road and he meets an Ethiopian, and he hears the Ethiopian reading, and he asks him, do you know what that means? And the Ethiopian's like, I don't. I need someone to help me understand it. So he explains it all to him, and he becomes a Christian and gets baptized. And that's our story today, which is quite incredible, because I'm thinking for you must have had times where you've needed a little bit of help, where you've not understood something. So what have you ever needed help with? I'm trying to think what I've needed help with understanding. Sometimes if we get something new, like technology, and I don't understand it, and I read the instructions and I think, I don't know what that means. What are they talking about there? And so then I need somebody else to come and help me and read it with me. And sometimes it's Ian, and sometimes it's just because we're reading it together and we're like, what does this mean? And we talk it through, and then we're like, oh, now I understand it. So sometimes I need help with that. What else have I needed help with? Understanding. Can't remember recent ones. But there's definitely been times where I've needed some help with trying to understand something, or times when I've had to help someone else. Have you ever helped somebody understand something? Maybe they didn't know how to tie their shoelaces and you helped them. Or maybe they didn't know what, they didn't understand what the teacher was asking them, so you helped them. Maybe. And in our story today, sometimes we can think, I'm never going to be asked to do something like that. But actually, when God has a job for us to do, he lets us know what it is. And all we have to do is say, okay, and go along and do it. And that's what Philip did in our story today. Yeah, so what I would like you guys to do is maybe have a go at the moment now with your parents and your carers or whoever's with you, and have a think about how would you tell someone who didn't know who Jesus was all about him? What would you say? You could write it down, you could draw a picture, trying to explain it, or what would you say to somebody who says, do you know what? I know you go to church, but I don't really know why. I don't know what you think or what you believe. Tell me, what would you say to them? Have a little chat now, and then when you've done that, come back. Beep, beep. Okay, so before you move on to the crafty things and things like that, quick question. What was the name of the man in our story who met the Ethiopian? You remember? Well done. And then next things for you guys to do is on the resources, I've sent quite a few things for you to choose to do this week. So there's some things that you can colour. There's things that you can colour and cut out and make. There's some puzzly things for you to do, or whatever you want. So have a look on there and click on those things, and a grown-up will help you and print them off. And then the other thing is there's a song. If you click on that, and it's called I'm Trusting You, and it's all about how actually no matter where God sends us or where we find ourselves, if we trust in God, he will always do the things that he wants to do. He'll always work through us. So you can click on that song and have a little bit of a boogie. That would be good. And yeah, that's it for this week. Hopefully you'll be able to do something there, have a good conversation with each other, and maybe show us what you've made. That'd be brilliant. Okay, take care. Bye.